Hey everybody, JickFit here with another video. This time bringing you guys my annual year in review video where pretty much I reflect on the year in terms of collecting and other things. So first off, to just say on a personal note, 2013 for me has been a very long, tiresome, and stressful year. A lot of things have happened in my personal life, certainly not the least of which was a major cross-country move. So that's made things a bit challenging. It's always challenging to be kind of, uprooted and then have to start all over again in a new place. But the year has gotten better since that cross-country move in the middle of the year. So I don't want to give the impression, that I've just had this terrible, awful year that's, unspeakable. Which I haven't. It's just been a pretty challenging year for me, and that's I'll leave it at that. So on to the more interesting stuff. In terms of 2013, in terms of collecting, has been it was initially a very dry year for me in terms of Star Wars collecting. Obviously, the void in between the end of the Vintage Collection and the beginning of the Black Series left pretty much there was nothing to collect in terms of Star Wars from Hasbro for the first 3 quarters of the year, really, for me, since I didn't really start buying more Star Wars stuff until fall this year. So in that void, I actually started collecting a new line, which was DC figures. In case if you've seen my previous, more recent haul videos, you know that DC has grown pretty prominent in them. I started collecting DC Universe Classics in spring, and also some DC collectibles figures as well. So that's really been my new collecting focus for the majority of this year, because I've realized that with my 3 3/4 inch Star Wars collection, I've kind of brought it and to a place where I'm happy with it. There aren't really that many figures left that I want until I consider my collection to be, complete for what I want. Because my Star Wars collection, I've pretty much put the focus only on the original trilogy / original trilogy era expanded universe. I've really just stopped collecting stuff from the prequels and the Clone Wars era altogether. It's just I've grown up with the Star Wars prequels so long, and when I was a kid, I had so many clone troopers and droids and stuff that I just really don't want or need anymore. So that's really been my focus. I've refined my focus towards the original trilogy. Like I said, very few figures left until it's to a point where I'm just happy with how my Star Wars collection is. So really, I'm gonna be kind of I don't want to say like I sound like I'm quitting Star Wars collecting, but I'm gonna be like kind of cutting back on the Star Wars collecting. Again, just refining my focus to purely the original trilogy and stuff. And in terms of the 6-inch Black Series, I was not one of the people who was initially, overjoyed, like, oh, yay, we're getting a new scale of Star Wars figures, because I see that really is, I didn't really have a point to collect that line, because I didn't want to start all over again collecting Star Wars figures. It kind of feels like if I did, then it would kind of nullify all the efforts and all the effort and money that I've spent towards the 3 3/4 inch collection. But I did buy the 6-inch Black Series Boba Fett, which was a really good figure. And so with the 6-inch scale, I've kind of narrowed my focus to purely main characters from the original trilogy. So that's how kind of the state of my Star Wars collecting is right now. I'll still be collecting Star Wars, just a few figures here and there that I might have missed, or a few figures that are coming out that I'm interested in. Again, no more prequels or Clone Wars era figures. I'm just not really interested in collecting that. But like I said, DC has been a major collecting focus of mine for this year. It's been really exciting breaking into a new line. It really is a breath of fresh air. Like, if you're getting a bit to the point of a collection, like I was with Star Wars, where I had pretty much everything that I wanted to have in the collection, and it really is a breath of fresh air to start collecting a new line of figures. especially just getting a new scale, new characters, new figures. It's just been really really fun collecting them, and I've kind of put it off for long enough. I mean, I've loved DC comics since I was a kid. Growing up with Batman the animated series, Superman the animated series, Justice League Unlimited. It really was only a matter of time before I started collecting DC figures, and I've really enjoyed doing that. There's some really great figures, and it's just been really fun to start collecting a new line. And in terms of my third and my third collecting focus was Marvel Legends. I haven't really been super into collecting Marvel Legends this year, really because I've noticed a significant downturn in the quality of figures that Hasbro's been putting out in that line. Just for example, like the Iron Man 3 Legends figures that came out earlier this year were just really not up to the quality that I thought they would be. Just cheap plastics, cheap paints, and it felt like Hasbro was not putting any effort into the Marvel lines. However, with the recent increase in the price of the Marvel Legends up to $20 to match the Black Series, hopefully that means a return to solid quality figures such as we're seeing in the Black Series. So I hope that indicates that we will be getting some better figures, really. And I think that really also my kind of disinterest in collecting Marvel Legends this year also kind of stemmed from external reasons in the Marvel universe, which I know you shouldn't really be affected by what's happening in the movies or comics as to collecting, but really I think that I can point my finger at Iron Man 3 for really just kind of killing my interest in Marvel this year. I really, really despise that movie. Just a terrible representation of a comics character, and I won't go on a big spiel about Iron Man 3. I have two very long videos on my reasons for disliking Iron Man 3 if you want to check that out. But just really just disloyalty to the source material. I think that was my biggest problem with it. Is I don't have a problem if they change a character, but if they totally abandon just the personality. I think that's the most important part of any fictional character, is getting their personality right, is getting who they are right. I mean, you can change the superfluous stuff like race, gender, or superpowers, but as long as you get at their core character right, then I'm fine with it. Like, for instance, Heath Ledger's Joker was, not your typical Joker by any means. He wasn't dipped in a vat of acid and had that bleached hair. He was just a psychopath who cut his face up and put green dye in his hair. But they got the character right. So I still deeply enjoyed that in The Dark Knight. It's one of my favorite comic book movies, but what they did to the Mandarin in Iron Man 3 was just complete disloyalty to the character and pretty much making fun of the character's existence. And I think that was entirely the wrong way to handle that, so just really, really killed my interest in Marvel, sad to say. I mean, I'm still excited for the 2014 Marvel movies that are going to be coming out, like Captain America, Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man 2, and Guardians of the Galaxy, even though, not so much for Guardians of the Galaxy because I'm not really familiar with that team. So I'm still looking forward to watching those movies, but Iron Man 3 definitely marked a significant downturn in my interest in Marvel this year. And even Thor the Dark World, though I enjoyed that a lot more than the first Thor movie, and certainly a lot more than Iron Man 3, it didn't really reignite that spark of my interest in Marvel. So that's unfortunate, but it just goes to show that one movie or comic or something that can really affect how you perceive a certain entity like Marvel. So in terms of movies, since that was kind of a little segue into that, movies this year I thought were really a mixed bag. There were a couple really good ones that I enjoyed, but a lot of disappointments this year. I already talked about Iron Man 3 enough. I'm not going to go talk about that more, but that's definitely one of the disappointments this year for me. Also, Man of Steel. Though I initially enjoyed it, I've kind of grown disappointed with it. It definitely wasn't the Superman movie I had hoped to see this year. It was just a very dull kind of everything. It felt like all the emotion and kind of life in that movie had been sucked out, and even like literally like the colors on the screen were all very muted. There's nothing very vibrant about that movie, and it just felt kind of like just overdone with the action. There's just not enough. There's too much action, not enough actual story there, and I never really felt like I was rooting for Superman. And I think that's something that's very important for any superhero movie, that you should always have that one moment, at least just one moment in the movie where you're rooting for the hero and you just, you want to believe, yes, the hero is going to win or something like that. And that just never happened in Man of Steel for me. So that movie was disappointing. And again, not in the Superman movie that I had hoped to see. And so I've kind of have mixed emotions about going into 2015. I know I'm reflecting on 2013, already talking about 2015, but I'm kind of concerned about how Batman versus Superman is going to turn out too, especially since we're going to be starting a whole new Batman universe with Ben Affleck. So, but that's a topic for another video talking about 2015. But a few standouts this year in terms of movies. I really enjoyed Pacific Rim. I thought that was just a really fun summer action movie. It really it feels like the best summer action fun that has been released since like Independence Day. I think it's definitely in the same vein as that. Where it's just a lot of fun to watch. I know I'm kind of repeating myself, but just a really movie that you just sit down and enjoy. You don't have to think about the story complexities or anything like that. Just sit down and enjoy it. And so I really enjoyed Pacific Rim for that. It's great special effects and just a really fun movie overall. Besides that, Thor 2 was also really good. Though I didn't again, it didn't really kind of reignite my interest in Marvel for collecting this year. And besides that, there weren't a whole lot of other standouts that I can think of. I saw The Hangover Part 3, which was very, just not very good. The humor was really dumb and definitely a disappointment compared to the first one. Let's see, what else? G.I. Joe Retaliation. I actually didn't like that as much as I liked the first G.I. Joe movie. It just felt like they took all the fun out of G.I. Joe and just made it this really like small scale action movie where it's just like a handful of people fighting a handful of people, not like these two big entities like G.I. Joe versus Cobra. So that really felt like a disappointment compared to the first as well, even though I know a lot of people hated the first G.I. Joe movie for some reason, which I really don't understand yet, because I mean, what more could you want from a show or a movie that's based off of a campy 80s cartoon? So I'm sure I know I saw some more movies this year, but obviously they didn't really make that great of an impact on me if I can't even remember them right now. Also the Wolverine. That was another superhero movie I was disappointed in. It was just really didn't really have a whole lot of what I like about about Wolverine and the X-Men in it. It didn't really feel like a movie in a superhero movie at all, or a movie in a superhero universe. Which I suppose that's what they're going for, to make it, kind of this personal Wolverine story, kind of cut off from the rest of the mutant community, living as a nomad, but that just really didn't have anything that I enjoyed from Wolverine and his adventures with the X-Men in it. You're just going up against the Brotherhood of evil superhumans or evil mutants. Excuse me, or going up against these big characters and stuff. But however, I guess this is a good point to kind of turn the attention towards looking forward to 2014 and what I'm excited about for that year. So far with the movies, again, I already mentioned some of the other Marvel movies, but my most anticipated Marvel movie this next year, and perhaps one of my most anticipated movies in general for 2014, is X-Men Days of Future Past. I am a huge X-Men fan. It's definitely my favorite Marvel superhero entity. If you know, to include like if I included both superheroes like by themselves and superhero teams on the same list, then the X-Men would be on the top of that. And the Sentinels are one of my favorite X-Men villains, and so I'm so glad that we're finally getting Sentinels on the big screen. I think that'd be really cool. I just hope it's done well, because Bryan Singer, who the director, hasn't really had a whole lot of successes recently. I think really the last movie of his that I enjoyed was X-Men 2. He went on to direct Superman Returns, which was a very dull copycat attempt at making a Christopher Reeve Superman movie. And so since then, I can't really think of any other movies of his that have been worth mentioning. So I hope that he finds his spark for directing again in the X-Men movies. Also, again, I already mentioned the other Marvel movies. Amazing Spider-Man 2 looks really good. I saw the trailer for that, and I am definitely excited for that. I'm actually one of the few that actually prefers the Amazing Spider-Man over the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. I know it's kind of blasphemy for a kid that grew up in the 2000s, but I think he was much more close. Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man was much more true to the Spider-Man that I grew up with in like the Spider-Man cartoon from the 90s. So I'm really looking forward to that. Again, it looks like they're teasing us with there's going to be like a Sinister Six movie coming up after the Amazing Spider-Man 2. So that has me really excited because Spider-Man is definitely still one of my favorite superheroes. Though I might not like him as much as I did when I was a kid. And in terms of other movies, I can't really think of any more off the top of my head that I haven't really already mentioned. Again, the superhero movies, that's my main thing that I'm excited for every year going into the year. Also, the next installment in The Hobbit, that comes out near the end of next year. And I love all the movies set in the Tolkien universe. All the Lord of the Rings movies and these past two Hobbit movies have been great in my opinion. So I'm definitely looking forward to the conclusion to a second Middle Earth trilogy. The first one I really these first two Hobbit movies, like I said, I've really enjoyed, and they definitely left us hanging with the cliffhanger ending to the Desolation of Smaug. So definitely very excited for that, even though it's a very long wait from here. We've got almost another year left until that happens. In terms of collecting for next year, again, that's kind of it's kind of hard to say because Toy Fair in February is pretty much where I get an idea for what I'll be collecting for the entire year. There's already been some previously announced Star Wars figures that I am interested in getting, such as the 3 3/4 inch Dagobah, Luke, and Yoda, which looks great. Definitely want that Yoda figure in particular. In terms of DC, well, Mattel has already announced the cancellation of their 6-inch DC figures, so that kind of sucks, but I'll probably be continuing what I'm doing now and just, kind of going back through the DCUC archive and finding figures that I want. And also, Marvel, again, is a bit uncertain for me. I can't really say. NECA, which I haven't mentioned yet, NECA has grown to be one of my favorite toy companies. I especially love their Predator line. That's one of my favorite toy lines to collect, even though they don't come out as often as as other collecting lines that I pick up. I do really enjoy that line, so I definitely look forward to what they have to offer next year in their Predator line. I know that they've said that they're going to do the AVP movie Predators, which should be really good. I'm definitely looking forward to that. And that's about it. All I can say, for collecting, again, really have to wait until Toy Fair in February to get a clear picture of what 2014 is going to look like in terms of action figures and collectibles. And so that's really it. I know I've talked on for 20 minutes now. So if you've been listening in for all that length of time, then thank you. I definitely appreciate it. And again, I just wanted to express how grateful I am to have all the followers and friends here on YouTube that I do. Again, with this big move and stuff, it's been really great having this community here on YouTube that's always there and always welcoming. It's really been a great thing to have. And so I just wanted to say thank you to every one of you guys who consistently tune into my videos. I know this hasn't been the most active year for me in terms of videos, especially this last half of the year. It's just been really just a mess. But thank you for continuing to watch these videos and to listen into what I have to say. I definitely really appreciate it, and again, I wouldn't be doing this if it weren't for you guys out there who always tune in and watch the videos and hear what I have to say. So thank you guys for watching, and again, 2013 has been a so-so year for me, to be honest. Tell me in the comments section below, how has your 2013 been? But I'm definitely looking forward to a better 2014. So thank you guys for watching. This is Jokerfett signing out for the final time for 2013. And I'll see you guys in 2014. Bye.